Yo, what's good, fam? Welcome back to another episode of Combos and Cohesions. Today, we've got the special Broken Edition. This is a brand new part of my Combos and Cohesion series where we focus in on one specific card that we think is incredibly powerful. Maybe not necessarily broken, but something that I wanted to highlight because of how strong it is on an individual scale. And today, we're going to talk about a good one. One of my favorites, it's relatively new, it's Enfeebling Orb. This card has so much utility, it is crazy. The ability to go ahead and remove some influence at zero cost from your opponent's hand to limit the amount of interaction they have is super, super strong. And I really have to underscore how powerful this card is. Recently, I've been playing a lot of Fractals or Water Fractals, and the ability to go ahead and limit the amount of resources your opponent has is paramount. It's good in both the sense of it makes it so that instead of playing a double spell, they can only play one spell of interaction, or alternatively, it makes it so that if you have Captivating Opulence out, it makes it more difficult for them to use things like Safeguard Amulet or Quicksilver Grail Safeguard Amulet, etc., etc., etc. We're going to dive into a real-world situation where I'm playing Water Fractals and my opponent is playing Wind Tristan. And I'm trying to set up for a lethal play, but my opponent has 6 cards in hand, and that could represent a double Incapacitate, like a Topsy Decree, maybe a Crystallized Destiny. There are so many different options. We're going to zoom in here and check out the scenario. All right, as you can see, we have in our hand, we have Burst Asunder, Glimmering Refusal, double damage spell. We have 5 fractals on board. Our opponent is at 12 damage. We're facing down lethal on the next turn. Our opponent can come in for 5 and kill us, so we need to look for a lethal line this turn. Our opponent has 6 cards in hand. We don't really know what those 6 cards are, but here are some of the best ones they could have, which is a double Incapacitate, Topsy Decree, and a Crystallized Destiny. So we come to our turn, and we think to ourselves, all right, what are we going to go ahead and get? And of course, we're going to get the card that we're highlighting today, Enfeebling Orb. This is a zero-cost regalia item that you can banish, and target opponent puts 2 cards from their hand into their memory. So we get Enfeebling Orb, and we activate it, which makes it so that it takes their influence from 6 cards down to 4, making it so that double Incapacitate is not an option. So that if I had gone for a Burst Asunder, they could incapacitate, I would Glimmering Refusal, and then they would incapacitate that, meaning that we do not have lethal anymore, thus making it so that if we play Enfeebling Orb, they have 2 less cards in their hand, which limits their options down to 1 card this turn. So then we go to our turn, we activate Burst Asunder. This card, Burst Asunder, does 2 damage plus 2 additional damage for every fractal we decide to sacrifice at the resolution. So here, we are threatening with 5 fractals, 12 damage. Our opponent is at 12 damage on a level 2 Tristan, which would present lethal, just over lethal. And so our opponent has to respond to this. And because they have 2 less cards in their hand, they can really only do one of their options, whether it's Crystallized Destiny, which won't do anything because it'll only stop the first instance of damage, thus still killing them. Topsy Decree, which gives them Spell Shroud and makes it so none of this damage happens, or Incapacitate, which would counter Burst Asunder and make it so that it doesn't even resolve. So our opponent would likely play something along the lines of Topsy Decree, giving us the opportunity to pay 2 and Glimmering Refusal it. So because we utilized Enfeebling Orb, we took their ability to respond from 2 cards down to 1, making it so that our singular counterspell is lethal on the turn. It's very powerful, very flexible, and opens up lines of lethal that even an opponent who holds up a large amount of cards still has to be able to respect Enfeebling Orb because it won't allow them to double spell or triple spell during a turn. I think Enfeebling Orb is maybe right on the border of too powerful and just too flexible. There's no class bonus on it, whereas our alternative option had class bonus, draw a card, and cost 1, so it did cost us an influence to get Blinding Orb. However, Enfeebling Orb being 0 no class bonus, just straight up flexible, ridiculously good regalia, makes it so it can slot into any deck that looks for combo kills or pushes for lethal relatively aggressively, and punishes people for holding up interaction. I think that Enfeebling Orb and something like Smoke Bombs, both of those cards fill a very similar vein in what type of aggressive actions you're going to try and take throughout your deck's construction. And both of them enable lethals through multiple card interactions. Anyways, this was a quick highlight on how I think Enfeebling Orb is both flexible. Anyways, this is a little tech on how I think that Enfeebling Orb is both super flexible, super powerful, and can really punish players for trying to play reactively instead of proactively. Whether that's a good thing for the meta, that's a good thing for the game, it's to be determined. I personally am always on the vein of being a reactive players should be both powerful as well as challenging to perform, because being a reactive player means that you have to hold up a large number of resources as well as a wide array or variety of interaction types to handle any type of situation that pops up. So cards like Enfeebling Orb or cards like Smoke Bombs really make it so it's difficult to be a reactionary player. I will say that because of these cards, how flexible they are, how air quotes free they are, it makes it so that being a control player is more and more difficult this day and age. Let me know down in the comments below whether or not you think it should be difficult or it should be a little bit easier to be a control player these days. Anyways, that's Coach Perfy, and this is Combos and Cohesion's Broken Edition. Deuces.